We up?
Yo,
What's good, everybody?
what's happening, y'all?
Why do I feel like it's been so long? Like it was just we went live on Thursday.
Because so much
right?
stuff happened, dude.
I
so
know.
much stuff happened.
I know.
This weekend, I thought last weekend was crazy. This weekend was absolutely crazy.
Well, the big piece of information or news or move transaction dropped on was that Friday.
Yep.
And then it just kept happening. It's awesome, man. First of all, everybody, welcome to Face Mask Fantasy. Hope everybody's having a good start to the week.
Yes, sir. Hunter L, what's going on?
What's up, guys? What's up, Hunter? But even 5 years ago, the NFL did not make trades. They didn't do it just was never a thing. And now that we know so much about how the cap doesn't matter, it doesn't make sense why it took so long to get to this point. But the
You've
NFL
been on the cap doesn't matter wave for a while, and I feel like it took me this offseason to really understand that the cap just is absolute.
It's a figment of your imagination.
Yeah.
Like for years and years, the NBA and Major League Baseball in particular would do a lot of moves that emulated, like if you're in a dynasty league or a keeper league, as far as like contenders buying studs and giving up young pieces or picks in a package. And the NFL took forever to embrace that, and they're finally doing it. And it's fun. It makes the offseason that much more enjoyable. There's that much more to talk about.
I think there's a direct correlation between fantasy and the NFL, because a lot of these GMs might have grown up playing fantasy, in the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
sure.
Yeah.
Where it was just a linear thought process, where it was just like, we might not have a team that has any shot to win, but we're going to try anyway.
Right.
Teams are embracing a different approach. And it makes sense. You might not like it in the short term, but you got to look at the big picture. If you're the team on the sell side of that,
also, I think like the whole instant gratification, like that's people want instant gratification now, whereas in the past people were willing to wait on a wide receiver 3 years, 4 years for them to really start turning on. Like now it's like, if you're not good within the first 2 years, we're moving on from you. Right. So yeah, man.
Right.
It makes for a more exciting NFL.
Oh, I'm here for it. 100%. We can talk a little bit about Matt Ryan today, but Hunter's got a question about the Packers first, so we can as always, we can keep this open-ended so we can kick things off with the questions. What the hell are the Packers doing? Man, I'll tell you what. If you're going to re-sign Aaron Rodgers, which at the end of the day makes sense, because Aaron Rodgers, we just got done talking about how like buying and selling makes sense in the NFL, but when you have the ability to add Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter what the rest of your roster looks like. He makes you a contender.
Right.
He makes you a Super Bowl contender. So, I mean, John, again, I know you're a little bit closer to teams' cap situations than I am, just because at the end of the day, I'll just be like, cap doesn't matter. But how do you then not make sure that you retain?
Oh, I don't think it's
the wide receiver one.
I don't think it's about that. I think they tried.
They tried, but they weren't willing.
I think Devontae just wanted to move.
Well, that's possible. But he told the Packers he didn't want to play just under the franchise tag. And I didn't see anything that there were any effort. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. If anybody's out there, feel free to please correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see anything about the Packers making more of a conceited effort to give him that long-term deal.
Well, they did after they signed Aaron Rodgers. They wanted to make sure they got number one.
They got Rodgers first.
They wanted to get the quarterback done first, and then they made Davante Adams a priority. Whereas Davante Adams was probably thinking, hey, I've been the best wide receiver in the league for a few years now.
Yeah.
Why aren't I a priority?
Yeah.
And that's what the Green Bay Packers do. They don't put a premium on their wide receivers. And
they hardly put a premium on free agents in general.
And Davante Adams told the Packers that he didn't want to be franchise tagged. And then the Packers franchise tagged him.
They did it anyway, yeah.
Even though it was a move just to get him on their team so they could work out something long-term, hypothetically.
Right. There was a thought process behind it, but he said outright, I don't want to play under the franchise tag.
Right.
So, I mean, look, I don't see why they don't. Regardless, it's water under the bridge at this point. Davante Adams is in Vegas. Like, there's no coming back from that. I mean, I have to imagine they're in conversations with like Jarvis Landry, which is nowhere close to the same type of player or certainly in the same caliber of player of Davante Adams. But Jarvis Landry has been a good receiver in his career. I mean, he would make sense for the team. But
I think Julio Jones, if he doesn't go to the Indianapolis Colts, I think he would make sense in Green Bay as a reclamation project.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at something like the Robert Woods trade. Maybe the Rams don't necessarily want to help out like one of the few teams in the conference that could challenge them, because the NFC is a crapshoot right now, outside of 2 or 3 teams. Maybe the Rams don't want to like make that trade with the Packers for Robert Woods. But if the Packers offer, say, a 4th round pick instead of a 6th round pick, wouldn't the Rams take that? And why don't, if you're the Packers, why don't you, maybe they did explore it, but like look to make a move like that. Go get Robert Woods. You don't think he would still be just fine playing with Aaron Rodgers? So, that's something that we'll never know if they actually explored it. Again, that's water under the bridge as well now. So they can continue to navigate, I guess, the trade market, maybe see if like a Brandon Cooks is available for from Houston. Just like look for these tanking teams, like but you cannot go.
Move.
Yeah. That would fit great with Rodgers. I mean, but you can't possibly plan to go into the season with, and maybe they bring back Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's a free agent as well. But let's say they do, like MVS, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Amari Rodgers, and say they draft a receiver or two. I'm sorry. I know that the NFC is a crapshoot, but that's not going to beat the Bucs or the Rams.
Now that they have Aaron Rodgers locked up, they should be doing everything in their power to move Jordan Love for something.
For anything.
For something. If it's a player for player trade, anything. Right.
Right. Even if it's like a 4th round pick, and then you can use that to get a veteran, like in a la the Robert Woods move that the Titans did. You're not getting Robert Woods, but again, like a Brandon Cooks, even like a Marvin Jones or something from Jacksonville. Like, I
know it's in the NFC, but trade him to the Seahawks. They have no quarterback right now. Try to get something back.
Jordan Love. Yeah. Sure. Fine. Right. I don't know. It's, look, here's the thing. And I know the compensation hunter is questionable as well. Unfortunately, with a receiver who's approaching the age of 30, as good as Adams is, quarterbacks go for 2 first-round picks. It's just what, we can disagree with the compensation the Packers got, but just you don't see wide receivers go for 2 firsts, even someone as good as Davante Adams.
And I think there's a little bit of the whole instant gratification thing playing in here. The GM wanted picks this year to make sure Aaron Rodgers was happy this year, because he knew that Aaron Rodgers was losing
3 more years.
Right, but even though Aaron Rodgers was, it's Aaron Rodgers is losing the best target he's ever played with.
Right.
His words.
Top 3 in the game, regardless.
And, Jordy Nelson went to the Raiders too. So this is not the first number 1 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers to go to the Raiders, which
play
is
for the
interesting
Raiders.
wrinkle. Right.
Packers have a Raiders pipeline.
Kind of.
or I guess other way around. Yeah, I mean, the Packers need to explore trading Jordan Love for, again, I would say at this point, like a 4th round pick or maybe a 3rd. But Matt Ryan just went for a 3rd, who I know is, how much older, but like way more accomplished.
Oh, bro, I take a 5th for him, like literally.
Yeah, I would start with a 3rd and come down to a 4th just because he's still a young option. Maybe for a team like the Giants or something. Yeah, like, a team who could use some competition in the quarterback room. There's plenty of options, or there should be, in the NFC. So that should be something they're exploring. And then, flip that capital for a vet who, whether we know it or not, is low key available. Some of the names I mentioned. There's no way you can go into this season with Aaron Rodgers doing the whole will he, won't he dance, and then Allen Lazard is your number 1 receiver. No disrespect to Allen Lazard. He's a pretty good receiver. He's not a number 1 option on a contender.
No. I mean, he's barely a number 2 option on a contender. The only reason that team was contending is because they have Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the best quarterbacks of this generation.
Yeah.
But on any other team, with almost any other quarterback, Allen Lazard would be, I don't know, not very good. Not very good. Even lesser of a player than he is right now.
I mean, he's got a redraft ADP right now, like around 190. That kind of tells you all you need to know. Like, it's not like, Devontae Adams is the number 1, but he still has an ADP inside the top 100. No, he doesn't. Actually, it's closer to 200. So, that tells you what the fantasy community expects from a guy like him, and MVS. MVS isn't too much higher as far as statistical expectations. So, yeah, I mean, here's the silver lining, Hunter. Here's the glass half full, way to look at this. You have until October to add players. When you factor in the trade deadline and the draft, free agency is not over.
Moves.
Right. Post preseason cuts, players who get dropped for salary cap reasons or this, that, and the other. There's still time. You miss out on some of the free agent options like Juju Smith-Schuster, but there are still trades that can be explored. That is something that can still happen. And with guys like a Brandon Cooks, it's the Deshaun Watson trade is done. It's official. Houston's looking to the future. Brandon Cooks is still a relevant player in this league, but he's not going to be relevant the next time Houston expects to be good. He should be on the move.
Yeah, or even
Marvin
just
Jones.
going out and getting a guy like Will Fuller or something like that. Some guy whose
Sure,
cachet is
I guess
super
the
low
question is
to where they
what's
wouldn't
going
have to
on
pay a
with him.
whole bunch. And yes, he's a huge question mark, but he's going to be as cheap as they come because of the question mark.
Sure, you can take a flyer on a guy like that.
But I got to say, one of my favorite targets for the rest of the off season will be Robert Tonyan. He will be.
Yeah, they brought him back,
there.
Right? They did re-sign him.
Right. No Adams, no St. Brown. Allen Lazard resigned, but no MVS as of yet. They'll draft a wide receiver or 2 in the draft, but the last time we saw Robert Tonyan, he was tight end 3, ahead of Andrews, ahead of Hawk, ahead
in
of
2020.
Waller.
Last year he was. But he got hurt. He got hurt.
Right. So he is my favorite, as of right now, favorite late round tight end.
Yeah, what's his redraft ADP right now?
Probably nothing. That's what I'm saying. You can probably get Robert
quick.
Tonyan with your last pick in any draft.
And then as I'm looking this up right now, and then as of, on top of that, Hunter asked what would a receiver look like as far as value if drafted in the first round. Tonyan's ADP is 202. So yeah, he's a perfect punt play at the position.
With top 3 upside.
Being drafted as the tight end 26. So how old is Tonyan?
I think he's right. I think he's at 27.
Okay. So one of those late bloomers,
but
like
me on that. I would need to look that up.
Again, this is how tight end goes, man. Like a guy will be 23, 24, 25, even 26 years old and just not do anything in the league. And then it's like, oh, wait, the light bulb went on. Like, that's just totally normal. As far as a receiver in the first round, I think so. I feel like a lot, through the offseason so far, the receiver I've seen attached to the Packers a lot has been Jameson Williams. But with this development, with Devontae Adams moving on, I don't think Jameson Williams makes sense for them because, again, to your point, John, about like getting right now value, getting picks that you can use this year, Jameson Williams is not going to help the Packers this year. He'll help you in 2 years, maybe even next year. He's not going to help you this year.
Coming back from an injury.
Right. And it was suffered in January. It's just he's going to be spending his offseason rehabbing. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Rashad Bateman type of rookie season for Jameson Williams as like a best case scenario where we can still see the future, but the immediate impact is going to be low at best because he's going to be doing a lot of non-football related activities, rehabbing from an injury, from an ACL. And then that puts you behind the 8 ball as a rookie, learning the playbook, building chemistry with your teammates, building chemistry with your quarterback, all that good stuff. So I don't think in this scenario now that has developed, he's not a player who makes sense for them.
I think George Pickens makes sense for them.
Sure. A guy like Pickens would, I think, make sense at this point.
Yo, not Slim, that I think, yo, Alex, what's going on, y'all?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for stopping by.
Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, I don't think like a player like Jahan Dotson is worthy of a first round selection, but he's probably going to be able to get. He's a type of dude who could give you more than maybe Jameson Williams can give you this year. I still like Williams as a prospect long-term over a guy like Dotson, but I would think in the first round, you might go best player available and then see if you can get Sky Moore again with like the draft pick that you should be looking to acquire for Jordan Love. These are the type of moves the Packers should be looking to make. And they still could. We got them almost, we still got over a month until the draft. But this is the direction they should be looking to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because they're in a weird win. They're in a win now window with Aaron Rodgers. But they don't have the offense for it,
without question, and
they don't have really the draft capital for it. It's a weird situation in Green Bay. But yo, Slim, thanks for joining us. And Alex,
Slim, Whisper Nation's quite strong today.
Yeah,
Alex, what's going on? I caught some of the highlights. I didn't watch it.
Impressive.
Work was a little busy today, so I was not able to be glued to the TV. But man, he threw that one ball. What was that? 65 yards in the air on a rope. Like that was pretty impressive.
Where then he went and celebrated with his teammates. Yeah, man.
Yup. Yeah, he was making the throws today. At first, I thought the Detroit Lions would make a smokescreen, making teams think they were going to take him at 2. I don't know. They might just take him at 2. I think the Lions might just take Malik Willis at 2.
And if he goes to how is DJ Chark's deal a 1-year deal?
1-year deal.
1-year deal.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the quarterbacks in this draft, and specifically Malik Willis, because he is such an interesting, intriguing talent. I don't know how far away he is from playing. Some people talk about him like he is a Trey Lance type prospect, where it might be good for him to sit a year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Malik Willis.
If he goes to the Lions, or I would say at this point he doesn't fall past Carolina.
That's
if
my
he goes
bet
to one of
for
those,
him is Carolina.
But if he goes to one of those teams, he's playing this year. Maybe not week 1, but he's playing this year. If Atlanta is able to get him somehow, maybe he sits the year, and because you have a competent enough player in Mariota, but they're in a they're full-blown rebuilding now. So it would behoove them to get him on the field as soon as they can if they feel like he's ready. The more I think about it, Malik Willis is going to go in the top 10, and whatever the situation he steps into, I don't think there's a veteran there that holds him off long enough for the team to be able to be like, we can wait, because this isn't a 49ers situation. The 49ers had high picks, or had a high pick last year that allowed them to move up to get Trey Lance, because they suffered a million injuries in 2020. They still had a ready-made team last year to compete, which was why Jimmy G kept playing, for better or worse. Even though there were a lot of people that contended if they had gone to Trey Lance by the time the playoffs rolled around, he would have been a better option for them than Jimmy G at that point. But We'll never know. I don't think there is a team drafting in the top 10 that is ready to wait on Malik Willis. And so for better or worse, I think he's going to get thrown in, I would say by week 5 or 6, depending on his situation.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'd have
Whether
to agree with
Detroit,
you.
They'll Detroit will rock with Jared Goff for a few weeks if they don't just outright look for another trade partner. Carolina would maybe rock with Sam Darnold for a few weeks before they pull the plug. Atlanta would probably.
Look what happened to his best comparable who currently in the NFL, and that's Lamar Jackson. He was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. Pretty solid roster all around, helmed by Joe Flacco at the time.
Right.
And by halfway through the season, they were playing Lamar Jackson.
They just went to him.
Right.
And that team made the playoffs.
Yeah.
That team made the playoffs, and Lamar started that game with 5 or 6 regular season games under his belt as a rookie. They saw it. They were like, we need to do this. We need to do this now. And they did. There's not a now Lamar was drafted at the end of the first round. Malik Willis is going to go much higher than that. I just don't think there is a situation he likely goes to where they can wait longer than like the midway point of the season. That's just my thought. Hunter, you can rant as much as you want, dude. This is a judgment-free zone. This is a safe space for everybody to talk about their teams, good or bad.
Yeah, we're just happy you're here to have
this
a
is a safe
conversation
space.
with us. All we're doing is ranting too. So
yep,
it's all
I'm
good,
just
dude.
at the end of the day, we're just spouting nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is safe space for anybody to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Football related anyway. I'm not a therapist. Well, we can try to be as it pertains.
I heard you
to
were
your
looking
team.
for a new job.
Hey. Not therapist. No, I can't do that. How does that make you feel? But no. Jaws, what's going on?
What's going on, Jaws?
Will Seattle draft a quarterback?
It would make sense for them.
It would make sense. They have the draft capital to kind of do what they want, whether it's wait until next year when the class is expected to be deeper and better, or they could, they could put their chips into this year and try their hand at one guy, at somebody. Where was Denver's pick that they acquired? It's relatively good.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me look that up.
So they'll be in a position. They'll be in a position to take a quarterback in the first round if they want to. They have the 9th overall pick. I mean, if they decide that they want Corral or Pickett, I don't think Malik Willis will be there. I think if Seattle wants Malik Willis, they got to trade their picks. They got to move up. They got to move up. I don't think he falls to 9. I don't think like Atlanta at 8, right? That's where Atlanta is. They're at 8.
Yep.
That's the lowest Malik Willis falls. And at this point, after the pro day, again, you can make whatever you want about a guy, working out in shorts, throwing against air. People are going to look at that throw that he made today, among others. It wasn't just that one. He had a very strong pro day in general. And they're going to take him high. At this point, I would be willing to bet that the Lions just say, screw it. Let's give this a shot. And they take him at 2.
Honestly, look what happened in 2021 with Zach Wilson after he made that throw at his pro day. It was the same deal, and he got picked number 2 in 2021.
And he's a very similar prospect as far as like having the tools, just needing to be built up, coached up, and put it all together, ideally. So very similar prospect between Willis and Wilson. So yeah, I'm inclined to believe he goes number 2 to the Lions and he doesn't fall past Carolina. So Seattle's not going to get him, but Seattle is in position to take either Pickett or Corral if they like one of them enough. And they should.
What I will say is...
Well, they should get a quarterback. They should draft one, whether it's this year or next year.
The moves across the NFL indicate to me the quarterback moves and the quarterback signings and the quarterback trades across the NFL signify to me that the NFL doesn't have a lot of faith in this year's draft class. No. Sometimes when the draft community is like, yo, this quarterback class sucks, sometimes NFL teams don't feel that way.
They get, right.
Like nobody called Daniel Jones in the first round, but an NFL team thought strongly enough about Daniel Jones to draft him in the first round. You can argue about whether that was smart at the time, now in hindsight, whatever. But the NFL mindset differs from the fantasy community's mindset. I don't think that's the case this year. I think the fantasy community and the NFL front office community kind of feels the same way about quarterbacks. They're not good this year. It's not a good crop of quarterbacks outside of Malik Willis,
who is right now
he's a
very enticing project.
Right.
But a project nonetheless. So yeah, objective, what's going on, man? And yeah, he called it. Talking about the Wilson throw. Yeah, same exact feels. So at this point, if I would say it's a bit of an upset if Willis doesn't go second to the Lions.
We're on the same wavelength.
Same wavelength. There you go.
But thanks for joining us, man.
Yes, sir. But yeah, Jaws, I agree. I mean, Drew Lock was a throw-in in the trade as a placeholder. I have to imagine. I like Drew Lock, the person. He seems like a very cool dude. Seems like a dude that would be fun to hang out with. Not a guy I want as my NFL quarterback. He will be a placeholder, and if the Seahawks take one of these guys, whether it's Corral or Pickett, I have to imagine Lock doesn't last very long. Again, maybe the same timeline as whenever Malik Willis is thrown in there, because maybe Jared Goff gets a few starts to start the season. I'm operating at this point as if Malik Willis is going number 2 overall.
The thing about Seattle is their whole team is bad enough to where I could see them not going quarterback very easily.
Just because they could bottom out and get whoever their favorite is next year, or?
Yeah, because as down as both communities are on the quarterback selection in this year's draft, everybody knows next year's quarterback selections as far as the 2023 draft are going to be far superior to this year's draft.
Expected to be better, yeah.
Everybody knows that. That is the worst kept secret in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So
they could, but they're also, I mean, they have the draft capital to, if they could take a shot on somebody this year just in case, I think
there's going to be people that will be, or quarterbacks that will be able to be had in the second and third round, to where you won't need to spend the 9th overall pick on a quarterback this year.
Yeah. I mean, this class, they could certainly use some offensive line help. Seattle could, and this is a good class to address that. And the receivers are strong. But Seattle's one of the few teams where you look at them and say, receivers not necessarily a priority need for them, because they still have a 24-year-old anchor in Metcalf. So they could go a variety of ways. I think they're in content. I think they're very much a candidate to get one of these top guys just to roll the dice. Because it could also be a Josh Rosen situation where if it doesn't work out this year, just get the hell out of Dodge next year, still get a 2nd-round pick for him instead of like a 4th 2 years from now.
Josh Rosen was thought of much higher than all these quarterbacks
than these guys.
Right now. And if he bottoms out, you're not getting a second. What I could see them doing is operating the same way they did when they got Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was what, a 3rd-round pick?
He was a 3rd-round pick.
And they had
Matt Flynn.
Right. They were willing. That's who it was. They were willing to go to Matt Flynn, and then they invested a 3rd-round pick in a quarterback. And he ended up being one of the best quarterbacks of his generation.
Yeah. And he started week 1. Russ started week 1. They saw it in training camp. They knew, they were like, we need to go to this guy now.
Yeah. So I could see them doing something like that.
So like a Desmond Ridder type.
Yeah. Yeah. Any of the guys, because I think there will be a lot of quarterbacks available late in this year's draft.
Yeah.
But what's going on, Theo? How you doing? You just got offered the 110 and the 111 for the 102. Is that your 110 and 111 for the 102? Or the 102 for the...
I think it's his 102 for 110 and 111, in which case I say keep the 102.
Keep the 102.
Yeah, keep the 102. Keep that... Get either Breece Hall or the best receiver. And And then real quick, Hunter asked, just before we lose it, how good Watson will be now that he's a Brown.
Well, I'll let you take this one because you are the biggest. You own Watson.
I have Watson in the Superflex league. I mean,
you've been waiting on him for a while, so the floor is yours.
So here's the thing with Watson. I mean, he proved in Houston that, you know, regardless of talent, and we can say that because we saw it when he, you know, with 1 year without DeAndre Hopkins, he's a top 5 quarterback any given week. He steps on the field, not just in the NFL, but also for fantasy purposes. I mean, his offensive line is going to be better. His run game in Cleveland is significantly better than whatever he had in Houston. Who was the best running back he played with in Houston?
I mean,
I don't even know.
Was it David Johnson for the 1 year?
Was it a washed David Johnson year 1? The point is, Nick Chubb, and if they keep Kareem Hunt, that's his best backfield he's ever had. Amari Cooper is not DeAndre Hopkins even on his best day, but Amari Cooper is still a good receiver, an upper echelon receiver in this league. On any given week, he's a top 20, maybe top 15 receiver. Mm-hmm. Not every week, but any given week he could be. And I like the ancillary pieces in Cleveland, and they might not necessarily be done. There were rumors that they could still bring back Jarvis Landry on a reworked deal. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones as a prospect, as a deep threat. He looked good in you know, the few times that Baker Mayfield didn't overthrow him last year. I like DPJ. David Njoku, I'll throw the floor back to John if he would like on David Njoku.
Yo, I'm excited. I'm gonna leave the floor to you, but I just want to say I am so happy and so excited for David Njoku.
Yeah. I mean, he's an athletic free. How old is he? Is Njoku?
He's 25.
Yeah, he's not that old. So, like, he's still in theory, like, not even scratched the surface yet. Maybe he's scratched the surface, but he hasn't hit the ceiling. Let's put it that way. And now he gets far and away hit the best quarterback he's had so far. I think there may be one pass catcher away from really being like, okay, let's do this thing. But Deshaun Watson did he lead the league? What did he lead the league in? Was it passing yards without DeAndre Hopkins? He led the league in one of those stats. I don't know if it was yards or touchdowns. The year right after they traded DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe he didn't lead the league, but he was up there. Like, he had a fantastic season. He had a fantastic individual season. It just gets overlooked by the fact that Houston won 4 games that year because that roster was garbage. They also got the short end of the stick from a schedule perspective that year. Besides the point, Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback any given week. Throw in his abilities as a runner behind that good offensive line. He won't finish top 5 because he's going to probably get hit with a 6-game suspension. But
we got to talk about that, bro. I think it's going to be longer.
And it very well could be. And that is still yet to be determined. At this point, it's kind of just a guessing game because Roger Goodell has proven to be nothing other than inconsistent in his time as a commissioner when dishing out punishment for something. That being said, when Watson returns to the field, and maybe if we see something crazy and it's not until 2023.
That would be the right move, but we're not here to discuss his legal situation.
We're not here to discuss
All
that.
I can say right now is that dude's kind of a piece of shit. Excuse my language if he has 21 accounts of sexual assault. But legal situation aside, from a fantasy quarterback standpoint, dude's one of the best fantasy quarterbacks we've ever seen.
He's a monster. He's an anchor out there at the quarterback position for your fantasy team. He's going now in Superflex leagues. He's going like 8th or 9th or 10th overall. Maybe not that high, but he's getting drafted as a QB1 again. And in Superflex leagues, and we know this because Underdog Fantasy, they'll sponsor us one day. They have a pre-draft best ball Superflex big board. Like, they have a contest available, a Superflex contest available. I can go back to the first round because I did join one, and Deshaun Watson went. Sorry, hang on. Hold on. Give me a second. 2.4. So he went 16th overall. I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback off the board, and that's with a little bit of uncertainty baked in.
Right.
He's going to be good. When the dust settles on all this and he's an every week player once again, he's top 5 any given week.
Absolutely. But we hope that answers your question, satisfies your curiosity on how we feel about Watson. Theo, again, what's going on? P. Diddy, Papa Diddy, Puff, what's happening, man?
What's up, P. Diddy? Going on?
All right.
Traded Jameis for
hey,
super flex.
It all depends on what your team makeup is. If you have a bunch of quarterbacks to where you can stand losing somebody who is a dark horse to be a QB1 in Jameis Winston, just based off of the YOLO ball,
just opportunity, and
right. Then picking up some RB depth. It's not bad.
Yeah, what's your who are your other quarterbacks, PDD? That would be my first question. Like, who are your other quarterbacks that made you feel like, okay, I can do this?
If you're still weak, you know who I would try to go out and get. I'm coming around to Davis Mills. Davis Mills will be the starter for the Texans for next year. So if you need a quarterback in super flex leagues and you just traded away Jameis Winston to somebody who was willing to give you CEH for him because he just wanted to cut ties and you just wanted to cut ties with Jameis Winston too, if you can go out and spend a couple of thirds, I don't know what the market value for a Davis Mills is, but he's got to be cheap. He's got to be cheap. He's got to be cheaper than Jameis Winston.
Right. Now, the thing with Houston is they have 2 picks in the top 15. So they are also candidates. If there's a guy in this class that they like enough, they could also draft a quarterback. I agree that
with too many needs.
They have so many holes.
Brandon
I understand.
Cooks is going to be going elsewhere, if not sometime this year via trade, or it's going to happen next year, just because I believe his contract is voided after this next year.
Oh, really? Like they can get out of it without any?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me caveat. I agree with
not to hammer down on the Houston quarterback and cap situation, because that's not really what your question was about. But go on, finish your thoughts.
I was just going to say, I agree. I think Davis Mills showed enough last year where it's like, give him another shot. Like, give him the year. Will they? Is the $1 million question. So I would say like you can go bottom of the barrel making an offer for Davis Mills if you need some quarterback depth, but I think there's real quarterback 2 upside.
Oh, you don't need quarterback depth. You got Tua, you got Lance, you got Lawrence, you got Wilson. So
okay,
you're fine.
Okay,
and
you got 4 young options, and Lawrence and Wilson can be your week 1 starters until we see a little bit more from Tua and Lance.
And I can see why you would go out and want to get a running back, because if you're relying on Javonte Williams and James Conner and literally nobody else, because Sermon and Vaughn, we like Vaughn, we can't count on Vaughn, we can't count on Sermon. Going out and getting CEH makes your team better.
Yeah.
So that was a good move for you, I think.
Vaughn might still be a little something. He's not going to be the starter, but if Ronald Jones moves on, which I got to think at this point, if Tampa really wanted to bring him back, they would have. Well, I mean, they prioritized Fournette, which makes sense.
Deal.
Yeah, makes sense. And good for Lenny. Good for Lombardi Lenny getting that money.
But good for you, man. This trade, I believe, makes your team stronger all around.
Better depth. Because Sermon is a massive question mark at best right now, and Vaughn is at maybe a bye week fill in like weeks 8 and 9 or something like that. Not going to be most likely not going to be viable like right away. So yeah, Clyde gives you some depth to play around with there. So yeah,
and
all right.
I know everybody's down on him. I know you're down on CEH, but CEH
I'm down
is
on
gonna
Clyde.
be the number one running back for this team, and it's going to be a good team. And
they'll be good.
The running backs that he was sharing time with, isn't Darrell Williams still a free agent?
I believe so. Was it Damian Williams who went to the Falcons?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So he could currently be re-signed.
Currently a free agent. Darrell Williams is, yes.
But right now, it looks like CEH is going to be the team's workhorse, at least right now. Now, what that means for your fantasy team and what that means for fantasy points by the end of the 22 season, still up in the air. But right now,
Jerick McKinnon takes his job.
At the end of the day, this move made your team better, so I like it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you had the quarterback depth already. You needed some running back depth.
Now, what do you think about this next offer that Theo Von Miller has? Would you trade the 102 right now for the 110 and a 23 first?
I would not, just because, Theo, I know you already got like 4 or 5 first round picks in 2023. Let's get a can't miss stud at 102. Like if he gives you the 110, the 111, and the 23 first, then it's like, okay, that's a lot to like say no to. But I'm thinking I'm keeping the 102 because Theo's got like 4 or 5 firsts next year anyway. You should be able to get, I would say you're going to get at least, and I'm kind of lowballing this, you're going to get at least 2 difference makers next year out of those 5 picks. Let's get get like Breece Hall. Let's hope Breece Hall falls to the 102. Like, let's say like someone falls in love with Treylon Burks, or I saw Drake London.
That's the kind of trade. This is the kind of trade that you make during the draft. If you don't like the player, if you were hoping that Breece Hall falls to you and he doesn't, and you're left there with Treylon Burks and you don't like Treylon Burks' landing spot, then maybe you trade down to 110, pick up a 23 first, and draft a Jameson Williams, George Pickens type at the end of the first. But I would not do that until you know who's on the board at 102 and what their landing spot is. And that's the only time that I would entertain a move like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the person that's trying to get your 102 most likely knows that this draft is limited after the first 7 picks in terms of high-end talent. So they're trying to capitalize on that, give you secondary, tertiary talents for that for the rights to 102, for the rights to Treylon Burks or Malik Willis if you're in Superflex or something like that.
Yep.
So I would wait. Sometimes being patient pays off. So be patient, hold your picks. If you don't like who's available to you on the clock,
then you can field calls.
Right. And then, I mean, draft pick, when you're on the clock is when that 102 is most valuable. So at that point, you might be able to get the 110, 111, and a 23 first from the person who fell in love with the guy that's available at 102. You might be able to get a haul. So I would just be patient.
To your point about, not liking, really anybody maybe after the say the 107 or 108, you could even say at that point, like, you could even say, like, if that guy comes calling and that's in that specific situation, you could look down your board, and if there's not like 9 guys where you're like, yeah, I know at least one dude I like will be there, you can tell the guy, hey, I don't like what's at the 110, 111. If you want this pick, you better come with it. Like, I need that. I need, like, give me 10 and 11, and you better throw in a 23 and a 24. Like, ask for the kitchen sink.
Or at that point, you're like, hey, look at his team.
Sure,
say,
get a guy.
Give me
like
the
that
110.
Dude.
Give me a player. Give me a 2023 first. I'll ship you the 102 and a player that I'm not super hype on, and get better, not just in your draft capital wise, but get better right now in terms of what your team makeup is. So patience will pay off.
Yup.
I would not trade the 102 right now.
Yup. I would hang on to it. I agree.
Hope that helps, man. And Slim,
I'm with that.
Yo, Troutman is one of both of our favorites tight ends.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. He just needs some more seasoning. He just needs to, you know, let that cake bake. Let that cake bake. He's still only like 24, right?
I believe he's 25. It will be 25 this year.
Oh, he turned 25 a month ago.
There we go.
He turned 25
but
months
that's
ago.
still young
so
for a tight end. He
Yep.
came into the league a little bit older, I believe. And I mean,
was this his third year?
He got all the work he could handle last year.
Got all the snaps.
And he didn't look bad with them doing the non-fantasy related aspects of playing the position. All he needs is a good, steady quarterback and targets, which we know he's going to get both this year.
Right. Oh, yeah. There's no way you can possibly rely on Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill as far as supporting wide receivers and tight ends for fantasy purposes. And we can operate right now as if Michael Thomas is going to be back. So that gives you, I mean, sorry, no offense to Marquez Callaway. He's not a number one receiver. But if Michael Thomas comes in and they got a little bit more of a, they're starting to show a little bit more of the offense that they used to have a couple of years ago. Now all of a sudden you have that number one receiver to take the pressure off, to draw those double teams, make it easier for other guys, help them get open in one-on-one coverage. And yeah, like you said, a healthy quarterback who, Jameis is clearly the best option compared to Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill. Arrow's pointing up for Trouty.
And the Kamara situation's still up in the air.
Right.
I don't believe the team has made any other big free agent moves on offense, so that bodes well for Adam Troutman and Michael Thomas both getting targets. And Jameis Winston, I will hammer it again. I hammered it last year. Jameis Winston is a very good fantasy quarterback. The Saints get a QB who had 2 top 8 receivers in 2019. That has only happened once in the last 5 years. And that was Kirk Cousins with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But Jameis can put up numbers. And again, without Kamara, one of the best pass-catching back, we don't know the whole situation. We don't know how that's going to unfold. But projected right now, without Kamara, Troutman is going to be one of his top 2 targets.
I just thought of something. Do you think the Saints, and we don't have to go totally down this rabbit hole, but do you think the Saints are like a dark horse for one of the landing spots for one of the top running backs? Given all of that, I feel like they might be.
I think
those quarterbacks aren't lasting to 18.
I think there's weirdly enough running back depth in this class that was thought of to be a weak running back class.
Yeah, there's some guys who are starting
The narrative has turned. Rashad White looks good. Brian Robinson looks good.
Brian Robinson is a guy people like, yup.
Yeah, so there's a couple of guys that can be had later on that aren't the top 3 running backs in this draft class who will help them. Hey, Kyren Williams fell. Who was Kyren Williams comped to?
Plummeted.
He was comped as, this guy can be an Austin Eckler type. Who's an Austin Eckler type? Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Is a better, historically has been a better Austin Eckler. So there's some running back depth in this class. I think they will invest in running back. I don't know if it's going to be one of the top 3 guys, but it could be. And even if it isn't, I think they will invest in the running back. They will invest in a running back in this draft class at some point. So yes.
There you go. Anyway, didn't want to totally fall off, but just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, Troutman's pointing up. So anyway, moving down the list. Jaws with Juju in Kansas City. Is Mecole a dino cut? Not a cut yet.
I mean, I think
I feel you. It's been a long way. I think you're gonna. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna keep on waiting for Mecole.
I think he's a dynasty cut, bro.
Not today. Not today. I mean, unless there's
by the time you're cutting down your roster to whatever your league limit is, I believe that Mecole Hardman will be a candidate to be cut for sure.
How old is Mecole? He's still
he's only 26. 24?
24. Yeah.
I just 24. Don't see with one of the best situations theoretically for production.
It hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened. I don't know if I see it.
Yeah, at this point, we're pretty much like with him. We're waiting for Travis Kelce to retire, and then it's a maybe. We're probably waiting 3 more years for that, maybe longer.
Honestly, I think you have to wait until he goes somewhere else. I think he needs a new landing spot and another team to invest in him. Maybe put him in a position to succeed. And even then, I don't know if he's gonna be much of a fantasy asset.
Right, and like what better situation can you get than Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's why, bro. That's why like he couldn't step up when they were forcing balls to Byron Pringle, dude. They were forcing balls at one point to Demarcus Robinson because Mecole couldn't be relied upon.
Now, to that point, Byron Pringle did move on. He signed with the Bears.
They got Juju. They got better. They're not
right. And Demarcus Robinson might move on. I think he had a visit with the Raiders today. So he could still be the team's number 3. He'd be the number 4 when you factor in Kelce. But yeah, you're talking about like it's like you're hoping for spot opportunities with him at this point.
Yeah, and sometimes wide receivers with high draft capital and second-round draft capital just don't work out.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, which is looking to be the case. I wouldn't drop him today just because he's shown a little bit, but it's not looking great.
Look,
and Kansas City
like
was
Zay
in
Jones
on Juju
was drafted
last year.
In the second round, and he had to go to another team where we weren't expecting him to be fantasy viable, and then he was fantasy viable.
And then he
Sometimes that happens, and I think that needs to happen with Mecole Hardman going to like the Dolphins or something and being what they wanted Will Fuller to be, something like that. I don't know.
But Zay Jones, was Zay Jones? Did he predate Josh Allen? Was that Tyrod and whatever else? Yeah. So I mean, Patrick Mahomes versus Tyrod. I mean, again, the case continues to build against Mecole, unfortunately.
Yeah, but no,
it's not great.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. It really depends on your team and what your depth looks like. If your depth is good and you have faith in the wide receivers that you have, and you run 8 deep at good wide receiver, and Mecole Hardman's the last guy in your depth chart, yeah, I think he's a cut if you're trying to get depth at other positions, but it really depends on what your depth is at wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah. And Hunter L. Is Adams still the first wide receiver off the board?
In redraft, nah. Well, not in Dynasty or redraft, no. In Dynasty, it's Chase. In redraft, it's Kupp. Both are pretty high in regardless, but I think it's fair to say Chase is is the top receiver in Dynasty. Kupp has to be considered the top for now, or not for now, just in general, top receiver off the board in redraft. Adams, I think right now in redraft, some people are like really dropping him down. I'm not. And I did a video about this in case if you're interested, as far as the Davante Adams trade to Vegas, which is a bit of a I guess a nod to, or a vote of confidence for Derek Carr. I have Adams right now behind Kupp for redraft, Chase, Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. After that, I'm not dropping him that much further. I did my second best ball of the offseason. I had the 11th pick. I took Davante Adams there over, Javonte Williams, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown. I still have Davante Adams over Stephon Diggs, who I'll take Diggs at the top of the second round every chance I get this year as well, just because, sure, give me Josh Allen's number 1 receiver. But I still have Davante Adams slightly over Diggs. Davante Adams is a top 3 receiver in the NFL, regardless of situation. And Derek Carr, I'll just throw a little statistical tidbit out that I shared in the video, was top 4 in the NFL in all of these categories. passes completed of 10 or more yards, passes completed of 20 or more yards, and passes completed of 30 or more yards. Working with almost nothing last year after Ruggs got released and Waller missed 5 or 6 games to injury. Derek Carr is
He did that with Zay Jones. Again, we're bringing it back to Zay Jones. He did that with Zay Jones because Bryan Edwards wasn't doing anything last year. So
and low A dot Hunter Renfrow.
Right.
So super productive Hunter Renfrow, but low A dot Hunter Renfrow. Derek Carr can get the ball out there. Davante Adams is not the first receiver off the board in redraft, but I'm not letting him go past 5th receiver off the board for me personally. Some people are moving him further down. Some people are going to put Stephon Diggs ahead of him. Some people are going to put A.J. Brown ahead of him. And if you want to throw in Kelsey as well, as far as pass catchers, sure. I'm not going that far with Davante Adams. I will move Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson over him, but that's it.
Where I see Davante Adams right now is where we kind of saw Julio Jones before he fell off and before he left the Falcons. He was with a good quarterback he wasn't necessarily going to get a ton of touchdowns like what he got touchdowns at a historic pace in Green Bay. That's what Adams did. He was a hyper efficient yardage monster. He was Julio Jones who got an elite who got Adam Thielen like level touchdowns. He's not going to get, I don't believe he's going to get the amount of touchdowns that he got in Green Bay. The yardage numbers still attainable because Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I look at Davante Adams like I looked at Julio Jones 3-4 years ago. He was still a top 6 wide receiver. You probably weren't drafting him wide receiver 1 overall.
No.
But he deserved to be picked within the top 6 in terms of wide receivers.
Drafted. Yeah, like top 15 overall.
Right. So, he, at the turn, you were happy when you landed Julio Jones 4 years ago. So that's where I look at Adams. I, like you, do not think he's fallen super far. Derek Carr is underrated. That offense is underrated perennially. So, not the number 1 off the board. I agree with you 100%, but around 5 or 6. Yep.
I took him at 111. If I had like the 10th pick, I might try to sneak in like somebody else and then hope he falls to me like low or that 2-3, 2-4 spot. I don't think he goes past that, and he shouldn't. So, yeah.
Yep.
So there's the Adams. There's the Adams take. Still worried about Melvin and the draft for Clyde. Oh, what are we talking about here? Objective. Oh, you mean you can't get a trade out for Clyde? Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I have Clyde in a 1 quarterback dynasty league. I haven't even kicked the tires with anybody on a trade just because I can't imagine what an offer would look like for him. Much less is anybody interested in him. There's going to be people. I could ask John if he wants him, and John's one of those. Some people are just like no. Other people are, well, everybody has a price. But I don't even want to ask the price for Clyde right now because I'm probably not gonna like it, even though he looks like a player where it's like, do you want to just cut your losses? So I know it's tough. For me, he's a hold just because sometimes this can bite you, but for me, I'm just holding just because it feels like I'm gonna get a literal penny on the dollar.
Sometimes it's better to just hold on and hope that in year 3, what year is he now?
In year 3. It'll be year 3.
In year 3, year 4, maybe in his next contract, he gets a deal and he goes to a team that actually utilizes him.
Yeah, that's been a problem.
You're not gonna get enough value out of CEH to trade if you're trading CEH. You're just not, unless there's a Kansas City Chiefs fan out there who still believes in him enough to give you a early second, late first. But if somebody's saying, hey, I'm trying to trade CEH, what'll you give me for him? I mean, if I have the 112 or the 212, I'm not
last pick of the second round in this year's draft.
And I know Nick hasn't asked me. He knows I would entertain the trade because I'm a fiend. I have a problem. and I fully admit that. That's one of the reasons why I'm on here talking to you guys.
It's not a problem.
But
it's a way of life.
Sometimes it's just better to just, instead of just cutting your losses and taking what you can get. Again, maybe we should change this live stream's title to the Be Patient live stream. You got to be patient on some of these players. I know it's counterintuitive with running backs when you look, and the narrative on running backs is they hit the ground running or they suck. But CEH is a guy that I think you just got to hold on to and hope he becomes something in the future.
Mm-hmm. And then trade him to a team that, you're hoping like he puts together a nice little 3 or 4 game stretch, and that coincides with like with somebody maybe losing a back or two to injury or something happening, and then it's like, hey, how you feel about Clyde?
Here's an idea.
Then you can revisit it.
If you have CEH, try to trade him early on, but maybe before the season starts or week 1, week 2 to the James Robinson owner. Try to get James Robinson. James Robinson isn't going to play for the first few games. Might not play for half the year. He's coming back from an Achilles tear that he suffered late in the year. But we've seen James Robinson be a top 10 running back in this league. He's done it on a bad team. So if you can go out and somebody wants to cut their loss, find another team with another player where they're just, I want to cut my losses on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically James Robinson, because he's not going to be playing and teams want to win, so they'll see a guy in CEH who's going to be playing versus a guy who's not going to be playing for him and already has an incumbent ahead of him who the team drafted highly. So that might be a move for you. Just to speculate, if you have CEH, hit up the James Robinson owner. But outside of that, hold.
Agreed.
And we addressed that Hunter L when we talked about Adams.
Yeah, he fell down the list a little bit, but not too much for me.
And
Theo doesn't have anybody he really wants. Then call his bluff.
I don't.
Call his bluff. Don't do anything. Just be like, I don't want your pick package right now. Let's talk at the draft.
I agree with that. Let's talk at the draft. But old players have value too. Your team, you're looking to turn that team around within the next 2 seasons. You're looking to have a good team by 2023. And there is value to be had in having a 28-year-old, 29-year-old wide receiver 1. Mm-hmm. There's value to be had in a rebuild, acquiring a Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, one of these older wide receivers who, you might not think as a rebuild that you would be interested in a 29-year-old wide receiver. But that accelerates the time in which you need to take to be a contender. You can turn around real quick if you invest in an older player that another team might just look at as an older piece. So don't just look at a team with a bunch of old players and say, I don't want any of them. You have to look at that team and not through the lens of, I'm trying to rebuild, all I want is young players, because then you end up with Denzel Mims on your team. I mean, look, you said, is Denzel Mims a drop? Yeah,
he's a drop.
Denzel Mims ain't gonna do anything in the league. He's just
Denzel.
Not. And right there, you probably could have traded Denzel Mims when he had some cachet for an older receiver who's actually productive in the NFL.
Give you something, yeah.
There's value in old vets.
Yeah, now nobody wants Mims. You want to talk about an untradeable piece. Like some piece, like it's Mims.
We've talked
a lot. And now the Jets are gonna draft at least one receiver this year.
Yeah.
On top of having Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and then who'd they bring in? Or they re-signed Braxton Berrios. They're gonna draft at least one guy, and it might be somebody at 4. So Mims continues to fade.
But we're in leagues with the guy who's had Adam Thielen on his team for the past 3 years, and he's been on the trade block for the past 3 years, but he's performed as a top 16 wide receiver for the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. There's value to be had in vets, and sometimes when you can get these vets at a discount just due to their age, it's worth it, even if you're in a rebuild, just to accelerate that rebuild, accelerate the turnaround time. So come back to us maybe when you're on your draft, maybe when you're approaching your draft, and we can discuss what you should be doing, if you should be making a trade with this guy. But right now, do what Nick do as Nick said to do. Just hold on, be patient.
Just hold on. Just wait. Yep. Just wait.
Slim with the most important question we've ever received.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
Yes.
Best pie? I'm basic. Like I'm basic personally. Like a good old-fashioned like cherry or apple. Like one of those two. I can't go wrong. Maybe I lean apple a little bit because like vanilla ice cream I feel like is a better combo with like some warm apple pie than a warm cherry pie. But honestly, I would eat it. You can do either one. I'm not like a pumpkin pie guy personally, or like I don't like lemon. I'm not like a whipped cream type of person, so I don't like lemon meringue. So yeah, I'm like a classic tip. Like I'm basic like cherry or apple.
Yeah, I gotta say the same. There's a time.
Throw a little vanilla ice cream on there.
There's a time and a place for pumpkin, and that is around fall, Thanksgiving, whatever.
Yeah, and even then, I'm
once a year, and
I'll
then
the
once
apple.
a year is good. But like, right. But yo, same. I mean, cherry apple.
Yeah, I
switches
keep
on
it
the
kind
day.
of simple.
Sometimes maybe a peach, but even peach, it's like I'd rather have a peach cobbler, and that doesn't apply. That's not a pie. So.
Can I ask you, what is the difference? That's stupid, but like, what is
crust, right? The crust ain't there.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I think.
I mean, I like peach. Don't get me wrong.
Cobbler's
peach.
Not round. I don't know. Ask Google. I don't know.
I am about to ask Google. Cobbler. Fruit filling poured into. Yeah, okay. It looks like it's more of like it's not a pie. It's kind of like just a collection of fruit with sugar thrown on top of it. It's called a deep dish pie. So what is it, like the Chicago version of pie?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll eat it. It's like I like peach. Peach is definitely like that's an elite fruit.
It's underrated,
for me.
I would say.
Oh yeah, I could always get down with some peach. Like there's another thing to throw vanilla ice cream on, a little caramel drizzle, caramel.
There you go. Now you're speaking my language.
There you go.
All right, let's get back to fantasy. Thank you for the
now
very
important.
I
only had like a
Slim.
peanut butter sandwich today to eat, Slim. Now I'm hungry.
Got to work on that.
boring lunch. Yeah, I need
eating a whole pie after this. I see you.
Yeah, nice little dessert for dinner tonight.
There you go. Dessert first.
I don't hate it.
Theo, do I drop Westbrook-Akine? Yeah.
Or Mims, if you have to pick one.
Honestly, both.
Yeah, I mean, neither are must-holds. Westbrook-Akine maybe gives you like a little bit more upside, but obviously it's capped in a low-volume passing offense that just acquired Robert Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, he might get an opportunity because Julio's gone. I mean, Westbrook-Akine is he's not Julio. Let's not get it twisted, but he's built more like a Julio, right?
I'm not.
He's like he's 6'4". He's 6'4".
We put out a video on Robert Woods yesterday.
6'2". Okay, never mind.
We're not huge fans of investing in Robert Woods for the 2022 season, but Robert Woods is going to be their number 2 receiver, and I expect the number 3 receiver to be Austin Hooper because Ryan Tannehill likes to target his tight ends. He did it with Jonnu Smith while he was there. It's just last year they had a combination of Anthony Ferkser and Jeff Swaim, and it just never got started there. And that's why they invested in and used Westbrook-Akine. A.J. Brown was absent and injured for parts of last year. Julio Jones was hardly ever seen on the field, and when he was on the field, he got like 4 targets. And Westbrook-Akine got a fair amount of work. But he was never a guy that you were really happy starting in fantasy.
Right.
In really any format. So he's going to be in a worse situation this year. And I just don't see it. I think if you're going to drop one of those guys and keep one of those guys, keep Westbrook-Akine, drop Mims, but I'd be dropping both of them. I would. Because with the amount of draft picks that you have, I know you got a ton, bro. I know you got a ton. You're going to need to make space for him. And Westbrook-Akine is a cut candidate because you need to make space for this incoming draft class. That's something you got to account for. J.J. Taylor or Travis Homer? Travis Homer's a cut. J.J. Taylor, I'm willing to wait one more year on because he's young.
Yeah.
And he was thought of to be the James White successor.
They brought White back, but they did not sign Fournette. So I think
so wait
there
one
could
more
be a
year.
little opportunity in there.
Wait one more year on J.J. Taylor to see if next year's the year that he takes over from James White. And then if he's not taking over for James White by then, cut him. But until then, hold on to him for one more season. But I'd be willing to drop Westbrook, Mims, and Homer. I would.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'm going to leave Slim's question to you because you are the Deshaun Watson correspondent.
Yeah, he can. Can Schwartz be a deep threat? I mean, it's kind of simple. I mean, look, we can't. We always have to. Rule number one this time of year: don't fall in love with 40 times. But Anthony Schwartz ran a sub 4.3, so yeah, he can. And he's got Amari Cooper to take pressure off. He's got a great run game to take pressure off. I really like Donovan Peoples-Jones as a prospect. I should have made an offer for him before the Watson trade, but that,
we
whatever.
Did. Remember?
We did? Don't remember.
In the league that we
remember?
You were just like, yo, can we? Yeah, man. We threw like a third at the guy. We got him. Yeah.
I must have been drinking that day. We got him for a third-round pick this year?
Yeah, bro.
All right, okay.
It was right after that Calvin Ridley Akers trade.
Okay, gotcha. I should have done it in a more high stakes league, I guess is what I'm saying. But hey, I'll take it where I can get it. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones as a prospect long term, but yes, Anthony Schwartz could be a burner for this team, and he doesn't have Baker Mayfield sailing throws or the opposite, throwing them 15 yards out of bounds. This is a much more accurate quarterback that he's going to get to work with Deshaun Watson.
When was the last time Watson had a pure burner?
I mean, Fuller is you can call Will Fuller a pure burner.
Yes.
And honestly, he had two because he had Brandon Cooks, but he had both of those guys the same year.
Exactly. Yeah. Schwartz can be
a poor man's version of those two guys. He might not have the same level of talent as far as like overall, overall body of work or overall like complete player, or overall player in general that Cooks or Fuller is, but he's got that straight line speed. And there's enough other weapons on this team where he should see one-on-one. He should see a lot of one-on-one work. Yeah, he can be a deep threat on this team. And right now he's got a redraft ADP outside the top 220. So if you're playing best ball, Slim, he's free. Or anybody. If anybody's playing best ball, Anthony Schwartz is free. Now, again, we have to keep in mind Watson's probably going to get slapped with a suspension of some kind. We can only speculate the length at this point. But if we think he's going to play in the back half of this year at worst, he doesn't get a season-long suspension, which he still could, but if he doesn't, Schwartz makes excellent sense as like a 19th or 20th pick in best ball because you're not going to rely on him. But then if it comes, week 12, week 13, week 14, and I just need a dude to catch, 3 balls for 60 yards just to like get me into the tournament. Yeah.
Schwartz can do that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he can.
Mike Lopez, thanks for joining us. Is Allen Robinson a buy?
Yes.
We were talking about Allen Robinson being a buy for...
Well, the price went up. Yeah, the price went up, but yeah.
Before he ended up on the Rams.
Yeah.
The price went up,
but still a buy. Still a buy.
Yes, he can probably still be had at a value because I expect him to return top 12, top 14 fantasy value.
You think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 this year?
I think he's going to be right on that borderline. He was the wide receiver 12 for 2 years running with Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. And was it Andy Dalton at that point? I don't know. Not Andy Dalton. It wasn't Andy Dalton at that point.
But Blake Bortles going back to his Jacksonville days.
Well, no, I was just talking about the last 2 years prior to last year.
Dalton was last year, so it wasn't. Yeah, it was a combination of it was Trubisky. It was Trubisky and I guess Foles. Yeah.
But he was a top 12. He was the wide receiver 12 with terrible quarterbacks, and now he plays with the best quarterback he's ever played with. He has the same build as the wide receiver type that has meshed with Matt Stafford in the past. He's not Calvin Johnson. Nobody is. But is he a better version of Kenny Golladay, who Matt Stafford got to wide receiver 1 production, high-end wide receiver 1 production? I believe he was the wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 6 one of those years when he really popped off. Yeah.
I think he was the wide receiver
Allen Robinson's
3
way better than Kenny Golladay. He is. And yes, he has to play with Cooper Kupp on the other side. I think that helps him because teams know they got to double Cooper Kupp. So Allen Robinson's going to be on one side of the field in single coverage the majority of the time.
Yep. He actually might still be a value even after this trade.
That's what I was alluding to. I think he is. I think you can get him and not have to pay top 14 wide receiver capital to get Allen Robinson on your team. I think he's still a value. And so, yes, he is a buy. Yes,
sir.
And Hunter L., you traded Devontae Adams and a second for Tyreek Hill and a second at the trade deadline.
Or Tyreek and a fourth. He corrected at the end, right below. So Adams and a second for Tyreek and a fourth. Keeper league. Okay, not dynasty. Well, right now, I mean, you got to feel a little bit better. Tyreek is a safer play right now, just because there's continuity in Tyreek's situation, and you move down 2 rounds. I mean, I would say it's pretty fair. I would say it's pretty fair for both sides. He gets the better draft capital moving up into the second round. But again, for redraft purposes, it's not much, but I would rank Tyreek Hill above Devontae Adams.
And he's younger, playing with a better quarterback right now.
So. Right. Yeah. I don't know if you can keep Tyreek for more than a year. If you can keep him for 2 years, then maybe we feel even a little bit better about that. But yeah, I would say it's pretty fair. I would say it's pretty even. And that's okay. Sometimes both managers can win a trade. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, it makes you more likely to retain good, communication with some of your league mates. It's okay for if it's a push.
I think the fantasy community has to stop looking at trades as winning or losing. I think you have to start looking at trades more as, how much did this help my team?
Did I get better?
We just saw a trade earlier in the chat where somebody was trading away Jameis Winston for CEH. In a vacuum, I'd rather have Jameis Winston in a 2 QB league, but with his roster and his roster makeup, it's a win for him. So we have to stop thinking about trades for the most part in terms of winning or losing, and just start thinking about them in terms of, how did this trade make my team better?
Did I get better? Yeah.
Right.
And right now, in a vacuum, I give Tyreek an edge over Adams. And then he gets the better draft capital. I think you both did good. I think you both did fine. Yeah, I think you both did fine. So yeah, you're good. You're good, Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, at worst, it's a lateral move. At best, you have a better wide receiver this year.
Right. Yeah, at least on paper, coming into the season right now, there's no way we can rank Adams ahead of Hill. So yeah, you're good.
And Mike Lopez, what should I do at the 111 in a rookie draft? I feel like this is a question that is going to be asked all offseason.
Well, first of all, what's the format, Mike? Are you in one quarterback or is it super flex? Not that it matters probably too much this year just because of how few options there are at quarterback. But, John, you mentioned him earlier, and I think he's rising at least 6-7 spots from maybe a month ago. If you don't want to play the long game with Jameson Williams, I don't even know if he's going to be there, but George Pickens, man, I really like him.
George Pickens, people have compared him to an AJ Green level prospect who just happened to get hurt in his last year of college, or his second to last year of college, come in late, didn't put up a lot of production in his last year of college, but he's a guy where if he would have came out a year before, people were talking about him being wasn't going to be wide receiver 1 in a class with Jamar Chase, but he was in the conversation to be the wide receiver 2 in that class, and he was in the conversation to be the wide receiver 1 in this class if it weren't for the injury. So
ahead of Waddle, ahead of Devontae Smith.
I mean, some people had him ahead of Drake London, ahead of Garrett Wilson, ahead of Olave, and on the same level of a Treylon Burks before the injury, projecting a year ahead. So George Pickens is somebody that I would be looking at. And honestly, at the 111, again, we talked about this earlier. Wait until the day of the draft and then see if you can turn that 111 into a first round pick next year plus. If you can be patient, patience is the operative word of this live stream. If you can be patient and wait until the rookie draft and then be even more patient and turn that 111 into a second round pick this year and a first next year, your team by 2023 will most likely be a lot better for it. But if you are dead set on drafting somebody in this draft class at 111, George Pickens is there. In Superflex, you can probably have any of the quarterbacks outside of Malik Willis. Rashad White might be available if you want a running back.
I think I would go receiver.
Jahan Dotson, Jameson Williams might be. Yo, let me know if the stream disconnected. I just got a notice that our stream disconnected. So let me know in the chat if the stream disconnected, but we're just going to keep on rolling and hope that it is fine.
It looks like it buffered for 1 second, and then I think we're okay.
Okay. So be patient, Mike. But, I mean, if you're dead set on in this draft, I mean, George Pickens is as good a bet as any, and he is probably the last available wide receiver with a clear-cut route to elite production or semi-elite production in this draft before the secondary cliff.
Yep. So agreed. And Slim's, thanks, Slim. We're good.
Thank you, Slim.
Yeah, we're good. But yeah,
Jason,
I mean,
what's happening?
Sounds about right, Mike. So hopefully that helps. And yeah, what's going on, Jason? Thanks for stopping by. Oh no, we're getting some Okay, sorry for anybody who still believes in Mims. Whoopsies.
Hey, if there are people in your league who still believe in Mims, ship him off for a third. Try to get a third for him. And I bet you'll be able to draft a player. If you're listening to us, you'll be able to draft a player in the third round who will bring you more value than Denzel Mims will pretty much ever moving forward. So I will slander the Denzel Mims. As a person who was on the Denzel Mims train, I will continue to slander Denzel Mims. And he can come at me. I don't care.
No. Noted.
And yo, Theo, you only have the 102 left, but you traded him for future picks, Kenneth Gainwell and DJ
right,
Moore.
he traded the I think it was the 201 and the 202 for DJ Moore. I said pull the trigger on that.
That's a great deal.
I said pull the trigger on that.
That is a steal and a half. The dude is only 24 years old. The only thing you have to worry about him right now is his quarterback, and I believe they're gonna fix that within the next 2 years.
And he's playing the long game anyway.
Yeah. It's a great move.
So I love the investment for DJ Moore for just a couple of second round picks. Hell, I need to see if I can pull that move off.
Try it out.
I might have to. So yeah, I'm fine with that. But you're good. But you have your stockpile in 2023, so you're fine. I wouldn't. Yeah. Again, at the end of the day, I wouldn't try to move. I wouldn't move off the 102 just to try to like recoup some picks at the top or at the bottom of the first, like top of the second this year. You know, In all likelihood, I'm keeping that 102, and then I'll deal with 2023 later when I've already got a stockpile.
Turn that 102 into, again, if you're trying to accelerate your rebuild, if you can turn that 102 into AJ Brown, theoretically, with DJ Moore on your team, and with a bunch of picks for next year, and you'll just be able to get better and spend them on quarterbacks and running backs, which will be the strength of next year's draft. That might be something to look into. Don't give the 102 away for just anybody. Has to be one of those top 6, top 8 dynasty wide receivers. But again, draft picks only have a 50 to 60% chance of working out in the first round, and it falls off as you move down drafts. It just does. Now the 102 has a very good chance of working out, and you have a chance at a near bulletproof prospect. But if you can turn what is uncertainty in the 102 into certainty with a AJ Brown or somebody like that, that's a move that you should be at least contemplating making. Because again, everybody's getting more hype on these prospects the more that we learn about them. But the consensus on this draft was it wasn't a very talent-laden draft. Just wasn't. And some of this hype that we're seeing is just because it's the next new shiny toy. We're not sure how this draft is going to play out in the long term. But you know A.J. Brown's a top 6, top 8 dynasty wide receiver. And I keep saying that name, but just, you got to be water, be fluid, and if you can make your team better while staying young and turn an uncertain commodity into a commodity that you can be 100% certain on, sometimes that's the smart move.
Yep.
So, yeah.
There you go.
Slim, all right, we got another Watson question. I'm sending this one to you.
You were sent Watson, and he wants Mixon, the 103 and the 106. And you have Tua, Jameis, and Mariota. So this has got to be super flex. So you're giving up Mixon and then probably the right to get some combination of, say, Garrett Wilson and maybe his teammate, maybe Olave. Man. What's the rest of your running back situation, Slim?
Nope.
You're saying no? I want to know what
if you're buying Watson.
Yeah.
He needs to be in a, I know we're playing the long game and this is Dynasty.
Right,
I understand that.
26 years old.
You need a little bit more certainty.
Okay.
You do. You need a little bit more certainty before you. I just gave up Zach Wilson and the 102 and 2 2023 firsts for Josh Allen. And CEH for what it's worth, and the 3rd round pick that was just a throw-in. But I know Josh Allen is a top 2 fantasy quarterback at worst and comes with no legal troubles. So I was willing to divest myself of those picks to get arguably the most valuable asset in Superflex Dynasty.
Not an argument.
Just saying that just to...
Fair, but not an argument. But anyway, continue.
Watson still, I know he was cleared of the criminal charges, but he still has, again, 21 accounts of sexual assault pending, and there's still some uncertainty with what's going to happen to Deshaun Watson in the long run. There is. There just is. Excuse my cat in the background. He's wilding. But
cats do what they want. There's no, you can't. Cats rule the castle. Yeah, There's nothing. But you can
I
do.
would not give up the RB2 from last year and what could turn into, Malik Willis and Chris Olave, like what you alluded to, for a guy that carries that much uncertainty.
Yeah.
Until his situation is solidified.
Would you do it for just the 103 and the 106?
I mean, yeah.
Take Mixon out of the equation.
Yes.
Okay. I guess Slim, I guess because we're speculating like, okay, that's a Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave situation that where you can those are the type of guys that you can get with those picks. Maybe, again, or you could replenish with Kenneth Walker or Drake London, depending on who all you like there. But you're getting premier prospects at those spots. So I would like to know I would honestly like to know. You gave us your quarterbacks. Who are your running backs? Who are your receivers? Could you absorb the loss of all of that for Watson? And in Superflex, it's enticing. It's an enticing prospect because again, Watson is top 5 any given time he gets to, he can return or anytime he's on the field, and he will get cleared. You might have to wait let's say worst case scenario, you have to wait until 2023. You still have a 27-year-old top 5 option at the position. So that's why I'm not willing to say no just yet. But the makeup of your rest of your roster would help a little bit here. But yeah, you might be able to get a bit of a discount now while you can still throw out the fact that, yeah, he still has civil cases to settle, and therefore there's a little bit of uncertainty. Maybe take Mixon out of the deal and get away with just giving up 103 and 106. But the rest of your roster would help a little bit to help hammer home the final call. What's going on, Fortune West?
What's poppin', y'all? Hey, everybody in the chat, go and check out Fortune West's music. Just do it.
Yeah, drops beats.
Yo, what's going on, bro? What do you think of McCaffrey and Boyd for Najee in the 101?
Najee in the 101. I want Najee in the 101. Yeah. McCaffrey, look. I know Christian McCaffrey can bring 30 points per game to the table for you. I understand that.
And he is only 25 years old, and there's a lot.
Still not old.
There's a lot.
Right. Let's just say let's break this down piece by piece. Let's say McCaffrey for Najee 1-for-1. Okay, fine. I could, even in Dynasty, you could argue that 1-for-1 swap. You could argue that that's fine. Now let's look at the other part of this trade. Tyler Boyd, who I have liked. He is a solid player. For the first overall pick in the draft, no. Tyler Boyd's a nice player. He's his team's wide receiver 3 at best for the rest of his career. Maybe Tyler Boyd moves on and becomes a wide receiver 2 somewhere else. No. Because ultimately Cincinnati is not going to be able to pay 3 receivers top dollar, and nor should they.
I don't see it. I think he's a wide receiver 3 moving forward.
I think he'd be a wide receiver 2 depending on the situation. But right now,
yeah,
what's Tyler Boyd's contract?
He'd be the wide receiver 1 on Green Bay right now. But
sure.
Yeah, but sure. Outside of that situation, yeah, no, I would rather have the 101, whatever the 101 will become, over Tyler Boyd. And I think McCaffrey and Najee right now in Dynasty is a wash because Najee comes with much less tread on his tires, should have a great 3 years, 4 years moving forward, and maybe even more beyond that. And McCaffrey is, you all right?
Boyd is older than I thought. He's 29.
Yes, I understand.
Or sorry, he's 28. Sorry. He will be 28 for this year.
Yeah, I would rather have Najee in the 101.
Yeah, Fortune, keep your assets.
Yeah.
Keep your assets, because Najee and McCaffrey, I could see that. I could if you wanted, look, I wouldn't stop you from doing that 1-for-1, but I'm not trading the 101 when Tyler Boyd is the compensation. And if he tries to come back at you and says, well, what if I throw in like a little something extra, but Tyler Boyd is still in the deal? I'm still like, no.
Yeah,
no.
Just shut that down.
Keep those assets, because that 101, depending on what you want, depending on what you need, in Superflex, if you need a quarterback, Malik Willis is in play there. Breece Hall's in play if you want that surefire running back. And then whether it's Treylon Burks, whether it's Drake London, or whether it's whoever the top receiver is that you ultimately decide is your favorite, like all of those guys have now the potential doesn't mean guaranteed results. but their ceilings are much higher than Tyler Boyd.
Absolutely. And you could argue that Najee's ceiling moving forward is higher than Christian McCaffrey's, right?
Sure.
Moving forward, too. You could argue that. Whether or not that comes to fruition, it's up in the air. We're not really sure.
Here's the thing about Najee, the one thing about Najee, but I'm nitpicking here. He might not catch as many passes this year because he doesn't have, old ass Ben Roethlisberger dumping the ball off to him because he can't get it 3 yards further than the line of scrimmage. Trubisky might not dump the ball off as much. But wasn't David Montgomery still didn't he have a top 5 finish to the season with Trubisky as his quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you can move Najee for maybe, say, the 102 plus.
What's that plus, though?
It depends. I mean, this is a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
If you can find a buyer for Najee and guarantee yourself Breece Hall.
And whatever the 102.
And whatever.
Okay.
And whatever the 102 becomes. But if you can, I know you have the 101. So you're trying to just stack picks at the top of the draft. But Breece Hall is a better version of Najee Harris. Breece Hall is younger. He's 1.8 years younger coming into the league than Najee Harris was. I know landing spot dependent. Najee Harris's landing spot is almost impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a faster version. He's a younger version. He's a more explosive version. He has more burst. I'm very, very high on Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is going to be a lot better than Najee Harris. I do.
A lot of people like Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Very safe prospect, high floor.
So if you are willing to move on from Najee and you want to just diversify your team's makeup and you're attracted to getting the wide receiver running back combination and you have the 101, just something to think about.
Get the 102 and then, and shoot high. Ask for a 23 first. And if that falls, just say, all right, give me the 102 and then give me a few seconds or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're all about trying to find players that you can sell at peak value.
Maximum value.
And it's hard to find a player who's more highly thought of than Najee Harris. Now, he should have a great few years ahead of him. He should. But you can't argue with selling at peak value. So it's something you at least got to entertain.
Right. Right. But that first deal's not it.
No.
And it looks like we're getting some Teron Armstead's going to Miami on a 5-year deal. Woof. Yeah. Hey, Dolphins just got a boost on offense. Tua just got a boost. Jalen Waddle just got a boost. Mike Gesicki just got a boost. I'm not a believer in Chase Edmonds as anything more than a committee guy. They're gonna.
All I'm saying is this helps him. That's all I'm.
This
saying.
helps him for sure. I mean, it helps. You can't ignore the fact that it helps the backfield as well. Edmonds goes from the RB35 to the RB30. Let's go, baby. Just kidding. No, I like Edmonds' talent. I'm just not sure that he's going to get more than an opportunity to be a high-end RB3. Maybe a low-end RB2. Maybe. But Teron Armstead certainly helps. He's an anchor. He's one. He's high-end tackle in the league.
And we're following up Fortune West Music's Christian McCaffrey question with another Christian McCaffrey question or comment.
Okay. There. Oh, yeah, right. Slim
he
situation.
Basically only has CMC and Mixon. In that case, I'm not trading Mixon for Watson if I only have CMC, who is one of the biggest injury risks moving forward. I mean, hasn't he only played like 6 games in the past 2 years? I'm not moving on from Mixon.
6 or 7.
If the only running back that I have of any value that I can just plug in and play and not think about is CMC, just to get a quarterback with the most uncertainty of literally any quarterback that I can think of in recent memory in terms of, is he going to be playing week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and moving forward.
But that receiver depth is strong.
Yes, your receivers look great.
So I would say,
and your tight ends. You got Dalton Schultz.
Schultz is good.
We love Dalton Schultz.
I would say, Slim, if you want Watson, take Mixon out of the deal and see if he'll do it for 103 and 106. But if that's not enough, then I'm okay with calling his bluff.
Yeah.
I'm okay with calling his bluff.
Yep.
But hold Mixon. If your depth is that weak, if you feel like you can contend this year, and you can, because that collection of quarterbacks that you do have is good enough to contend, especially with that core of receivers. Then maybe see about the 103 and the 106. But don't go any higher.
Yeah. Maybe see if you can get a scrub running back.
Maybe see if you could do it for the 106 and maybe Gabe Davis, and then keep the 103.
I think people are coming back down to earth on Gabe Davis. I think the time to sell Gabe Davis was a few weeks.
It's worth a shot. You never know.
It's worth a shot. You can try it out.
What if it's a rabid Bills fan that has Deshaun Watson in that
Foaming
league?
at the mouth. Let's go.
Yeah. See if you can. Yeah, Slim. I would come back with the 106. It declined since you have two. Okay, okay, got you. Okay, you declined because of the now two has got like a boost from on the offensive line. Okay, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, you got to make the moves or not make the moves that you choose. So.
Yeah, but honestly, whatever makes you feel better about your own team is the most important thing.
I would say maybe the quote unquote low ball offer I would come back with is the 106 and Gabe. Maybe come up to the 103 and Gabe, because then at least that way you can still give yourself a shot to get a guy like Olave.
Right, you can sell the person you're trading to on, Gabe Davis, Josh Allen's number 2 wide receiver, is only 23 years old. Look what he did in the postseason. Boom.
Yeah.
See if that can make it happen.
Here's a first-round pick on top of it, but let me keep mixing in one of them.
Yeah, but hey, we got to talk about Jamison Crowder before the end of this.
We can. Yeah, he signed a little 1-year deal with the Bills.
We got to talk about him. But let's finish off this chat first. Trade value for Marcus Mariota. Whatever you can get.
In a super flex league, I mean.
Whatever you can get.
So like a second-round pick or can you get a first?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you're going to get a first for Mariota because he's clearly a placeholder.
And I think the second that you're looking at is probably going to be a mid to late second.
Do you hold and wait for him to, actually play and put up some numbers?
His highest finish was in 2016, and that was QB 12. Outside of that, he was a mid to back end QB2. And I know that's valuable in Superflex. He looked better in spot work, in very limited spot work. But that's what it was, spot work.
Yeah, like gadget type stuff.
And for what it's worth, in 2015, his wide receiver 1 was Dorial Green-Beckham. And in 2016 and 2017, his wide receiver 1 was Rashard Matthews. And in 2018, his wide receiver 1 was Corey Davis in a rookie deal. So, yes, he didn't have the best shake in Tennessee.
As far as pass-catching talent around.
Now, he had Delaney Walker, and for 3 years running, Delaney Walker was a high-end tight end 1. So that bodes well for Kyle Pitts.
Woo,
bodes
baby.
very well for Kyle Pitts because Delaney Walker was the tight end 4 in 2015. He was the tight end 5 in 2016. He was the tight end 7 in 2017.
I guess you want to talk about thin receiver talent. Mariota's he's getting the same exact thing in Atlanta.
You could argue that.
So Mariota's really getting the short end of the stick as far as receivers.
But his running back situation is much worse too, where that is something that he relied on in 2016 when he finished QB12 because DeMarco Murray was the RB5. And the year after that, DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry split in work, and they both finished as low-end RB2s, RB23 and RB25.
maybe Mariota being a veteran now at this point will be a little bit. Like, he's got some experience to lean on. Maybe that helps him a little bit. I guess where I'm going is like maybe hold and see if he's able to boost his value when we can actually see him on the field. And then if there's a contending team that could use a quarterback, maybe is willing to pony up a little bit more.
See, I think his value might tank as soon as we see him play on the field for the Falcons. I think
or if the Falcons draft a quarterback
based on the hype versus sell based on what his on-field production will be at that time.
What we hope happens.
Right, and then you can use that draft capital to maybe invest in a quarterback that will fall in this year's draft. And then that quarterback moving forward will have will be more highly thought of, because after this year, Mariota, barring an unforeseen offensive explosion from Mariota where he looks like Matt Ryan, I just don't see Mariota ever being a QB1 for an NFL team after this year. This is just a very special situation where the Falcons want to tank. Yeah. I think you sell Mariota for whatever you can get right now. And I think what you can get is a mid to late second round pick, and then spend that on a QB and keep it moving.
Yeah. You can get something for him because the sell is easy. He's a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
For at least the next month.
But the biggest winner from Mariota going to the Falcons, Kyle Pitts.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
3 top 8 tight end finishes with Delaney Walker.
All right. Pitts to the moon during the Falcons for a couple of 3-win seasons for Atlanta. You love to see it. Slim countered with Mixon okay, so he's not countering, he's just not budging. See, I can't stand people like that. That's not a counter. That's just like holding firm and not negotiating. So you're wasting your time.
Yeah, cut your.
You're not that you're wasting your time having a conversation, but when the counter is the same offer as before, when you clearly already said no, it's like, okay, stop now. He's wasting your time.
I can get somebody digging in after you've negotiated a little bit, and maybe both players have given a little ground.
You gotta budge a little bit when
but you can't come in with the first offer and just stick to it and say that's all I'm willing. That's no fun. That's no fun.
Yeah, that's no fun.
So yeah, just decline that trade and move on.
Yeah, move on for now. Yeah. Move on for now, because you have the quarterbacks. Maybe try to turn your attention to maybe some running back depth somewhere else. Yeah, I can't stand that. Like, don't come in. Some people operate that way. I like to negotiate a little bit, but if your first offer is also your final offer, it's like, okay. Thanks for letting me know I don't need to talk to you.
pretty much.
Yeah. So.
But now that we're at the bottom of the chat, I want to talk about some winners from this recent portion of the free agency period.
Let's do it.
Basically since we last talked.
Yeah, we'll go for like maybe another 10 minutes, guys. We'll go to the top of the hour, and then if there aren't any other questions, and then But for now, let's look at some potential winners.
First on my list, we got Matty Ice going to the Colts. Michael Pittman's a huge winner, dude. And that kind of goes without saying. But Matt Ryan has thrown for 4,000 yards in 10 straight years prior to 2021, when he had no one to work with. Mm-hmm. And Carson Wentz last year threw for 3,800 yards in 18 games. Matt Ryan is a much better quarterback. The only reason Matt Ryan didn't throw for 4,000 yards last year is because no Julio. Calvin Ridley looked like Frank Darby and only played half the games, and his wide receivers were Russell Gage, Cordell Patterson, and Kyle Pitts. I think Pittman to the moon, another person in that offense to the moon. One of Nick's favorite tight end targets over the past few years, Mo Alley Cox.
Big Mo, man.
Because just like we went over Mariota's tight ends over the course of his career, over the past 4 years, Matt Ryan's tight ends have finished tight end 6 in Kyle Pitts 2021, tight end 10 in Hayden Hurst, 2020. Austin Hooper in 2019 was tight end 6, and Austin Hooper in 2018 was tight end 6. And Austin Hooper ain't anything special. We know this.
Right.
He's a good NFL tight end. He's not spectacular. But can Mo Alley Cox approximate what Hooper did 3 years ago? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he can.
Absolutely. He's only 28 years old, and I think that Mo Alley Cox with Matt Ryan can be a top 10 tight end.
I think he's got high end tight end 2 upside with some low end with some tight end 1 opportunities. I'm not sure how high, I'm willing to go that high, but if they don't add to the
tight end 10, Austin Hooper tight end 6 2 times, like Mo Alley Cox can't get there. I'm not gonna say he's in the top 6, but can he be top 10? I think so. I do. Call me crazy.
All right. Fair enough. Who else you got?
I'm going to keep hammering these tight ends, man, and I want you to talk to me a little bit. I want to know your thoughts on Gerald Everett going to the Los Angeles Chargers.
My guy from last year. Yes, sir. Yeah. So what do you get, a 1-year deal?
I believe so, yes.
He's going to the Chargers. I mean, this was the landing spot that I think everybody was hoping for Mike Gesicki. For any of the other free agent tight ends that were like at first maybe people were hoping would hit free agency just because of the landing spot, because of the opportunity to catch passes from Justin Herbert. This is as good of a landing spot as you could probably hope for Gerald Everett. Only caught 4 touchdowns last year, but again, Russell Wilson missed a ton of time, and the Seahawks became they bottomed out. Like, their season spiraled out relatively early last year, and so when that happens, it's not hard to see when player production dips for ancillary players like a Gerald Everett, especially playing with so much time with a backup quarterback. But he started to do a little bit better at the end of the season when Russ got healthy. Now he gets to play with Justin Herbert, who I think has vaulted himself into the top 3 or 4 conversation for dynasty quarterbacks. He looks fantastic. I don't have Jared Cook's numbers from last year right in front of me, but
it wasn't good. Wasn't pretty. I think
but Jared Cook is also 37, 38. Like these,
yeah.
Like, props to Jared Cook. This is not Jared Cook slander. It's just he's older now. I said last year this is the best situation that Gerald Everett had been stepping into previously when he signed with Seattle. This is now the best situation he's stepping into with Justin Herbert. There aren't a ton of available targets in this offense, but if he soaks up, a similar target share that he gets, if he soaks up a similar target share that he got in Seattle relative to the amount of times that the Chargers throw the ball, I think he's looking at 100 targets.
And Gerald Everett, from weeks 9 to week 8, you mentioned his week 18, you mentioned his late season stretch. He was tight end 11 from weeks 9 to weeks 18.
There you go.
Once he learned the offense and got a little bit of a rapport with Russell Wilson, he really, I'm not going to say lit the world on fire, but he looked like the tight end that everybody expected him to be when he went there. He did.
Yep.
And to your point, he's going to be looking at more targets. This is a tight end that has an RAS above 9, so he has that athletic ceiling that we're looking for.
Yep.
And he's playing in an offense where he will never be double covered because he's playing with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler. He will never be the focal point of an opposing defense. Never.
Right.
So he's gonna have opportunities. He will.
Yep. Yeah. No, I like Everett next year, and with let me check his ADP really quick. I know it's low once again. He's gonna be a late round target for me at the tight end position, and I feel like 212. I feel like I might punt the position a little bit more than I did last year. There's a little bit more uncertainty at tight end this year if you don't get a guy like Mark Andrews. Kelsey had Travis Kelce had I think 3 or 4 single-digit fantasy performances last year, so there was a little bit more inconsistency. And now they add Juju Smith-Schuster, Kyle Pitts. As we just got done singing his praises, but the glass half empty side of this is he's getting a drop in quarterback play. George Kittle, potential drop off in quarterback play. TJ Hawkinson missed a lot of time last year. He's a bit more of a value now, so that's nice. But Amon-Ra St. Brown emerged. DeAndre Swift will be back. Are they going to have a rookie quarterback in Malik Willis?
That brought in DJ Chark.
Right. DJ Chark is back. Yeah, so I feel like I was bullish on getting a stud tight end last year. I might pivot a little bit more this year because there are guys like Gerald Everett, like David Njoku, like Robert Tonyan. There's appealing names dirt cheap in good situations this year. Darren Waller's another name where it's they just added Devontae Adams and now he's 30 coming off missing 5 games. Do I really want to plunge a high draft capital in him? I can see myself kind of swinging back the other way this year when it comes to the tight end position, and Everett looks like a good value.
Yo, Slim, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. When it comes to tight ends, you're not wrong.
John's about that RAS life.
Yes, sir. All right, you just talked about. Well, I don't know. You just talked about Robert Tonyan. We mentioned Robert Tonyan earlier.
Yep.
Go back and listen to that at the beginning of this live stream.
Don't make them go look for it. I don't remember when it was.
It was within the first 10 minutes.
We'll pull the clip. What we can do, we can pull some clips from this one.
Yeah. Look for them tomorrow. We'll pull some clips from this one and post them tomorrow. But Joe Burrow is a huge winner, and that's kind of going under the radar.
That offensive line, yeah.
Alex Kappa, Lael Collins,
and Joe Mixon.
Ted Karras, and Joe Mixon is on my list too, and he's somebody that we just got finished talking about.
Slim.
What is the one weakness? Yeah, what is the one weakness for the Bengals? Their O-line. What they spent? Yes, sir. They spent heavily in free agency and got 3 decent to high-end replacements on their O-line. And I saw something on Instagram. It was funny. Lael Collins, Lael in Spanish.
Lael Collins. Yeah. Oh,
is
Lael.
Lael is
the Collins.
Yeah.
It
made me laugh when somebody pointed that out. So I'm just passing that along.
There you go.
We're gonna try to wrap this up relatively soon, but I'm just gonna keep going with this list until I'm done. I don't care.
And then real quick with Burrow and Mixon being winners, I mean, Bengals also still have this deep O-line draft that they could continue to add to.
It's a second year with Jamar Chase and a third year with T. Higgins, we have to account for growth there, and coming off his first fully healthy season. I mean, Joe Burrow can't be had for on a discount, but I expect more from Joe Burrow next year.
Evan McPherson, K1.
Hey, that's your boy. That is your boy.
Sir.
I like RAS. You like Evan McPherson.
I am a McGoatson stan.
Boom.
But anyway, got a couple more.
Yeah, man. Under radar signing in Dallas, James Washington.
Yeah, that's a good move for them.
Amari Cooper gone, Cedric Wilson gone, Michael Gallup coming off knee surgery, no Blake Jarwin. Two guys I like, Dalton Schultz, James Washington.
Yep.
They both
and they've run a ton of 3 receiver sets anyway. So
yeah.
Washington could be what's his redraft ADP? I just want to check that out. I'm about to find out.
But Schultz was clearly a priority free agent for this team. That was a priority for them over Cedric Wilson and obviously Amari Cooper. Priority to bring back Dalton Schultz onto this team. And I feel like James Washington always got the short end of the stick in Pittsburgh. There was always somebody a little bit better than him on the depth chart ahead of him.
That organization is better at identifying wide receiver talent than I think any other organization.
Absolutely.
Just look at their track record. And so, I think James Washington he was the guy, he was the squeeze each time. Now his ADP is 240 and he's being drafted as the wide receiver 117. Yeah, he should outperform that.
Yeah, what has Michael Gallup done the past few seasons as the wide receiver 3 in Dallas? Now, Michael Gallup is a much better, I believe, talent than James Washington.
He's performed, yeah.
But I believe that James Washington is going to get a ton of targets in this offense. He's going to get a ton of opportunities. And for what you would have to invest in him to get him, I believe there is value to be had there. I do.
Okay, there you go.
And I only got one person left because we already addressed Michael Thomas earlier in the pod as well, earlier in the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned I wasn't going to leave this live stream without talking about Jamison Crowder.
Gotta do it.
I gotta talk about Jamison Crowder. I gotta talk about him. And then I'll leave the floor to you to talk about who is that wide receiver that the Zach Pascal. Then you can.
Oh, I have nothing to say. Sorry, Zach. But anyway, go ahead. Give your thoughts on Crowder.
Crowder was the wide receiver 25 in 2020 in PPR points per game with Sam Darnold.
MED.
He finished ahead of Cole Beasley that year in points per game. He was ahead of DJ Moore in points per game in 2020. He was ahead of CeeDee Lamb in points per game in 2020. I know that was his rookie season, but still matters. He was ahead of Claypool in points per game in a season where Claypool had multiple 4-touchdown games. Wasn't that a thing?
He had one of those, but he had like 11 total touchdowns on the season.
There we go. And he was also ahead of T. Higgins again in his rookie season, but T. Higgins
rookie year
had 900 yards and his fair share of touchdowns too.
He had a good year.
Jamison Crowder was a better fantasy receiver by points per game than all those guys.
And now he gets a significant upgrade in situation.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, the deep analytics on Jamison Crowder's 2021 season.
Yeah.
He won the highest percent of his routes in 2021.
There you go, Crowder.
He won the highest percentage of his routes in 2021, and that was with an injury, dealing with injuries all season, dealing with the presence of Elijah Moore pretty much all season, and dealing with worse QB play than he dealt with under Sam Darnold. Cole Beasley averaged 108 targets per game over the past 3 seasons.
Per season.
Yeah. He was always over 100 targets.
Yeah.
It just didn't get much higher than that. But that's 20 more targets than Crowder got in 2020 when he had his wide receiver 25 season. So he's going to get more targets, going to be playing with a better quarterback. And he's still a good slot receiver, still winning at an elite rate. Again, led the league in the percentage of routes run in 2021. And I don't think people are talking about Jamison Crowder enough. I don't.
Well,
it is the best. Right? It is Jamison Crowder. But this is the best outcome for him, period.
Let me check his ADP really quickly. If you want to take, first of all, what's going on, Jorge? Good to see you.
Jorge, what's happening?
Hell of an offseason. Do you want to take Hunter's last question here? I just want to check Crowder's ADP.
Sure.
Is Garrett Wilson the wide receiver 1, the rookie wide receiver 1?
I mean, honestly, excuse me.
He's up there.
It's starting to come down to, starting to be a little bit more dependent on where these guys land in terms of the teams that they end up on. Now, I still believe Treylon Burks is the wide receiver 1 in this class. I still believe that.
Okay.
I know he didn't have the greatest combine, but were we expecting him to? Were we expecting him to? Were we expecting him to come in and run a 4.3? Like, or in the 4.3s?
Not a man of his
in the
size.
4.3s like DK Metcalf? No.
Right. That's an outlier, no matter how you slice it.
But based on what he did in college and the game speed that he was measured at in college, running at least 22 miles per hour down the field in college, and showing the ball skills, showing the overall just pure talent that he has at the wide receiver position, I still believe that Treylon Burks is the wide receiver 1 in this draft class.
Okay.
And
that's fair. I think that's fair.
I do. If you look at,
I think that's fair.
I believe Garrett Wilson has the highest floor. But if you're talking about the highest ceiling, it's Treylon Burks. It is. And you hear people say, but what if Treylon Burks is this year's N'Keal Harry? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah.
I don't buy that at all. I don't. I still believe Treylon Burks is the wide receiver 1 in this draft. Garrett Wilson is closing the gap.
Wilson's damn good.
Almost day by day, Garrett Wilson is closing the gap.
Be good.
He's gonna be good. He has the highest floor of any wide receiver in this class, arguably outside of maybe Olave, who has been the highest riser in this year's draft at the wide receiver position due to his 40 time.
I mean, I'll just tell you right now, Wilson is a guy that has an 80, like a redraft. Garrett Wilson has a redraft ADP of around 80. I'm taking him there.
Yeah.
Like at pre-draft.
All these
ADP of 80.
Rookies are.
I'm getting him.
Bargains right now in any draft where you can get them.
If any of you boys play best ball or ladies, if there are any in here, this is obviously a inclusive to all. If you play any best balls, grab those rookie receivers at the discount now while you can.
And I don't think that Green Bay isn't picking anywhere near it. Their first pick is the 22nd pick, and their second pick is the 28th pick.
Yep.
So I don't know if they're gonna have a shot at Treylon Burks.
No,
they would have to move up from that 22 spot with maybe the second that they got from trading away Devontae Adams to get Treylon Burks. But Treylon Burks is gonna go somewhat early.
Yeah,
maybe Garrett Wilson falls to the Green Bay Packers at 22. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. But there's a chance that the thought process, or at least the where people value them, will change by the landing spot. And maybe Garrett Wilson goes to the Packers and Treylon Burks goes to the Browns opposite Amari Cooper. And then somebody's like, I'd rather have the clear-cut number 1 for Aaron Rodgers over the number 2 for Deshaun Watson or something. I'm just
even though he's the number 1 prospect, it's just all about landing spot. Yeah, right. I gotcha. Yep.
There might be a situation where Garrett Wilson does become somebody's wide receiver 1 in this class. It probably will not be me.
Fair enough.
But it's
I think I agree
closer.
with that. He's right up there.
He's real good.
Really good. He's really good.
Outside of a prospect like a Treylon Burks, it would be hard for me to not sell, or I don't know what I'm saying.
Not put Burks or put Burks. It's hard to put Wilson over Burks right now.
Burks is getting close, but he's still the number 2, and it's not that hard of a distinction for me. I still like Treylon Burks a lot more. Not a lot more. Right. I still like him more.
Enough where it's like he's the number 1.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Last question here from Hunter, and then we are going to shut this guy down. But thanks as always, everybody, for coming, hanging out, and talking shop with us.
Absolutely.
Really quick, is George Pickens still a first rounder? I kind of have a short answer for this. NFL draft, I think he's a second rounder. But I think he can absolutely be a late first in dynasty rookie drafts. I think there's enough pause given the injury from NFL GMs to wait until the second round to take him.
Excuse me.
But depending on the landing spot, and honestly, it would have to be an unexpected landing spot for him to slide in dynasty rookie drafts. I think he'll be a late first in dynasty rookie drafts. I think he's more of a second round pick in the NFL draft.
And I mean, look at the players who were drafted in the early second round in past years. That's
Michael
T. Higgins.
Pittman.
That's Michael Pittman.
Higgins,
right.
Yes. Yep. There's nothing wrong with the top part. With the upper half of the second round.
Yeah. So I like George Pittman. George Pittman. I like George Pickens a lot. I do.
Yes, sir.
But hey, thank you. We're gonna shut this down. We've been going for almost 2 hours, so we're gonna shut this down. Or have we? Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, almost 2 hours. But the good news is we'll be right back at it on Thursday.
Disconnection, but we will be back on Thursday, and stay tuned for some outtakes from this live stream. They will be posted tomorrow. If you missed the earlier parts of this live stream, we'll make sure to take the important parts out and post them up in individual smaller segments.
Yeah.
But hey, thank you for everybody for being here.
Yeah, appreciate everybody as always.
It's been a lot of fun talking to y'all today, coming with all the questions, all the interaction in the chat.
This is the part of the day I look forward to after a long day at work, you know?
Absolutely. This doesn't feel like work at all. I love talking with y'all.
Nah, because it's not. But
yeah. Yeah. But yo, just a reminder, we did roll out our memberships. So if you are interested at all in becoming a member of this YouTube channel, check out the link. It should be at the bottom of the video screen, and you can click it and see what we offer in our memberships, whether that's the first tier, second tier, or third tier. Just take a look, see if it's something that you'd be interested in. You don't even got to do it right now. You can do it later on in the off season, maybe as we get closer to the season. Just be aware that we are offering memberships, and that comes with the possibility of doing drafts with us and having leagues, redraft leagues with us where you're competing against us. That comes with one-on-one team valuations where we go through one-on-one with you at a time that we all agree on through your dynasty league or your keeper league team or whatever, and we diagnose how you should be addressing things, whether it's which keepers you should be investing in or just the overall direction of your dynasty team, players that you should be interested in, players that you should be interested in moving on from. Just keep that in mind. We got memberships, and we would love it if you guys would become members of our YouTube channel. But regardless, thank you very much for being here. Much appreciated. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. A great day tomorrow. And we will see you hopefully on Thursday.
Yep. See y'all Thursday. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace. If my mouse will work. I don't know.
More tech difficulties.
Let's see. Nope. We're just going to be here indefinitely because my mouse won't work.
Oh, well. It's less than ideal for your mouse.
Hold on. Come on. No.
Gotta pull the plug.
Something like that. Let's see here. There we go. All right. See y'all later, guys.